Welcome back to Quake Pro League, where we're busting out the bacon on these next couple matches here. I am 40 Lions, joined by Lethal. Lethal, why are you giggling? We have cha1n versus ZenAku coming up, and it's going to be a barrel of laughs. Isn't that right, Lethal?
It will be. Just stop it, you. Just stop it. But this
Me?
next series is
I
going
don't
to
know
be...
what you're talking about.
You do. But this next series is going to be incredible. ZenAku versus cha1n. So let's talk about a little bit. We've seen a lot of clean sweeps today. I don't think this one is going to be, considering from what we've seen so far. ZenAku, again, continuing his path of destruction, is currently first in the Americas leaderboard. Well, actually, Rafa has probably overtaken that now after that 3-0 series, but can get it back even though Rafa will have a game in hand. But ZenAku said it himself. He's literally, not specifically aiming at trying to figure out plans for each opponent. He's just literally taking it as he comes, taking all these strides and then adapting. And that's what makes a great player. And we've seen a huge amount of signs of that. Like, for example, we've seen him take down the Hang right at the start on the stage, 3-0. It's absolutely huge. We know, it's been brought up quite a few times already, but we have to mention it again and again sometimes. Taking down Saigib, and Saigib was actually doing pretty well against ZenAku in the last series last week, and that was a 2-1 victory. Very, very close, but end of the day, it was a 2-1, and he says had an incredible start, but we have seen ZenAku have incredible starts before in other stages, and then things start dwindling downwards, and I'm hoping it doesn't stay like that. I kind of feel like he has found his footing. He's hit that plateau in terms of skill level, and now he can't really drop beneath it due to the amount of time he's actually put into the game. He's been grinding a lot as well. I think he's been scrimming against cha1n quite a lot as well, which I already mentioned in the past back in the Garpy cha1n match.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot of the EU players, a lot of the Americas players, a lot. I think this is going to be another test for ZenAku. We mentioned with Rafa the level of consistency, being able to perform every single week at a very high level. That's what you need to do, and we'll see if ZenAku can do that against cha1n. cha1n is it's an odd story because he was top 4 at a certain point. A big drop-off, I would say, and it's kind of a question of whether he could bounce back and return to that form, or maybe even better, maybe excel. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, but hopefully we get to see a little bit more primetime cha1n this time around.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what's happened so far. I don't know if it's because of the fact that he's kind of stayed the same whilst everyone else has slightly improved, or what. It's been really weird because he was looking radical at one point. Like, he's really giving the thunder to a lot of the players, even giving Rafa a run for his money. And it was hard to comprehend exactly how much progress he'd made. He did it in such quick fashion. Like, it wasn't that he did it in small increments here and there to kind of add it all up. It was just one big jump. And, sometimes if you don't play as much as you'd like, sometimes it can, again, like I said, spiral downwards slightly. But I'm not really too sure what's happened. That's a question I would love to ask him if we ever get the opportunity one day, just to see, how he feels about that and why his approach has been a little bit different in comparison. But it doesn't mean that, he's been playing bad at all. He's still been playing pretty well away from the relegation zone. He's going to be nowhere near it for a while, but yeah, just a little bit strange, and I'm hoping we get to see a glimpse, some elements of that leading up to the stage 3 finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's time to play everyone's favorite game show, pick band stage, for these two players, ZenAku and cha1n. So we have Molten Falls, Ruins, and Vale yet again. And Lethal, do me the honors of again running us down the champ list.
Well, just having a quick look here, Awoken has been banned for ZenAku. He's going to be very happy about that, just considering cha1n's best maps have been statistically Awoken and Molten. But funny enough, you can't ban them both, so Molten will be played first. Ruins, again, I think ZenAku is just going to be very happy overall, because if you actually look, they're both very good on Molten, they're both very good on Awoken, and, ZenAku is also very good on Ruins. Like, his main 3 maps are Ruins, Molten, Awoken, and the fact that he's got 2 out of 3 is going to be pretty impressed by that. I feel like, this screams 2-1, but it depends on Vale. It depends on the start one of these 2 players will receive. But like I said, ZenAku hasn't really got any plans for each opponent. He's just going to take it as it comes and then just work from there. And I've spoken about it before, a huge amount of adaptation and becoming one of those players where you can work on the fly is what makes you go from good to great, especially in the Quake scene. We've seen the Coolest, the Cyphers, the Raffas in the past, where they're relying on adaptation against some of the AIM stars of the world. But for what I've seen so far, I wouldn't really say too much in terms of maps, because they both love Molten, they both love Ruins, and considering the fact that Vale would be the last pick, and to consider it as well, it's Eisen versus the DK. I may favour cha1n slightly, but it depends on how he plays the Eisen out on Vale.
And taking a look at the predictions from chat, I don't know if this is what we would assume, but 65% in favor of ZenAku, 37% in terms of chain as it fluctuates back and forth. But yeah, putting you up against the wall, which is where I love you, Lethal. Between these two, what do you think?
I don't know. It's hard to call. It's like I said, you know, Molten's there, which is great. Ruins, you know, it's quite a hard one for cha1n because I know that ZenAku happy that you know, out of his 3 best maps, 2 of them are there. So, you know, he's not really too worried about that at all. You can see ZenAku wasn't really too keen on Awoken anyway, but it's banned just in case. But I'm going to give it 2-1 to ZenAku here. It's, you know, in terms of prediction, it's very tough to call because I don't know what type of chain we're going to see. We haven't seen, you know, the chain back at stage 1 or stage 2 in a while. But now, knowing my luck, now that I've just said that, we're going to see chain absolutely fly out the gates. But, you know, I'm just going by purely what's on paper so far. So maybe 2-1 to ZenAku, we'll have to see.
I think I would agree with you on that one. I think, again, it's going to be a question of consistency. Can ZenAku play to the level that he's been playing in practices and also through the weeks of QPL? We'll find out. Or can cha1n just come out of the gates, like you said, and dominate and return to form and say, I'm back, who forgot about me? I will slap you all in the face. But any given Sunday, that's what I love about Quake Pro League. So hopping into the first map, it should be a bit of a banger here. As again, let me take a quick peek at the predictions, and they haven't really fluctuated too much. 78% to 22 in favor of ZenAku. But predictions don't matter at the end of the day. It's all about the performance as we're getting into it. cha1n versus ZenAku on Molten Falls. We are live taking the in-eyes of cha1n.
I'm a little bit surprised it's 78% because Molten can be a bit of a doozy, as you well know, 40, with the fact that, you know, you could be the better player, but it depends on exactly what happens at the start in terms of how you try and take advantage of your lead. But we can see it's very fast-paced considering the start of this matchup. cha1n does get the first frag, and now he's the one who can dictate the pace considering what ZenAku is going to do here. Misses that first rocket, but does hit the rail, so it's going to be okay. That heavy is still up and looking to try and grab that, but that's okay. cha1n's going to accept that. He's going to recover, pick up the health orbs, and Mega is still up, and he's going to be, you know, just fine with that, just fine.
And not too bad of a start for cha1n at all. He's got the inject as well. Spit will be up shortly for ZenAku, and it is now as he grabs the vials and the banana going through. There's the spit. There's a little bit of rocket. cha1n popping the inject, standing his ground. The rail from ZenAku will not land as he's trying to get good positioning on this heavy, but instead he's just taking massive amounts of damage. Needs to be careful. The drop down a little bit too early from cha1n isn't going to cost him his life, and it does! ZenAku, I don't know how he did that, but he gets that frag and ties it at 1.
Yeah, this is exactly what we expected. Good rails, good returns there from cha1n, and ZenAku's like, yep, I'm out of it. I'm going to be going to the opposite side of the map, but it's going to be greeted by cha1n through the telly. Oh, good prediction there from cha1n, but you saw the inject came out. cha1n does clean him up, so he will regain the lead, but it's going to stand around for a little bit. Oh, if that rail hit, that would have been absolutely huge. It would have taken down cha1n and not only getting that frag, but also would have picked up the heavy in the process. But sadly for him, that drive-by did not work. As good try, though. Good attempts. He knew that he was possibly still available after that last engagement. As cha1n is still just hanging around, just twiddling his thumbs, trying to find out exactly where ZenAku is. We'll find him around the rockets above the Mega. As ZenAku has already dropped down, is going to go towards the shotgun to gain a little bit of height above cha1n to try and contest this next heavy.
Good rockets from above, and cha1n unfortunately taking that rail. I was going to say good on return damage, but make that 2 as Zen stacks him up. cha1n in a bad way right now as ZenAku making his way for a free Mega. 50 shard will go to cha1n. And another rail from ZenAku, and cha1n just got kicked in the face.
Oh, dearie me. 2 HP, look at that. Does have the inject as well, so to stop himself from being available. 2.5 minutes has passed. It's been quite a aggressive Molten Falls from what we're normally used to here. Both players trying to show some map dominance, and here we go. So at least some good rails again returns from cha1n, but still has a lot to work with. Look at the stack from ZenAku. It's going to take more than just that one. Needs at least 2 to be able to fight this off, but needs to try and collect some of these lights along the way. But ZenAku's just doing a great job contesting these items. It's just been a real pain in the backside for cha1n. And even though he's got the lead, it doesn't feel like it. It's consistently having to try and be a bit more, proactive and try and get away to find these lights. But ZenAku's been even more proactive, just dancing and dilly-dallying around the map, making sure he doesn't move away from that rail area.
And he could dance all day as cha1n taking a mid-ground position, almost getting a nice little rail there. Just setting up, making sure he has an escape plan, trying to get unreturned damage. Again, no armor to his name, trying to play potentially for the heavy. Good awareness, and somehow Zen hits that rail, and cha1n thought he was safe, and you're never safe when you're in the arena here. Really, really good rail from ZenAku, just applying pressure from all over the map with that rail, as he's known to do. Zen, pretty heavy rail player. Most of his game depends on it, and shots like that! Wow, the follow-up with the shotgun to tie it at 2, and ZenAku is just nuts right now with those rails. On an Anarchy, no less.
Definitely. Like, it was a heavy disadvantage going through the telly, but he'll take that any day of the week. He had so much stack, it's worth it for the frag. And now cha1n still hasn't got any armor yet. Still looking to see if he can maybe try and find some info. He's still looking for, still hasn't found any. And it's been a real pain. As you can see, ZenAku just literally just eating them up, pretty much like Pac-Man, like you mentioned before, with a previous opponent. And now cha1n's still just on standby, trying to find anything to kind of grasp anything from this game, and still waiting for these lights. It's pretty absurd.
cha1n is getting a little bit of damage there, just enough to know that he doesn't want to aggress. Does get a 50 shard, and he's not really stacking the injects in terms of getting the overall max HP value he can. He's just using it for mid-fights, maybe emergencies. But even then, if he gets too low, he doesn't want to burn it because he knows he's going to die anyway. So I don't think he's really getting the utilization out of the inject that he should. Good rocket, though. Wow. Across the map. Big time. Good rail as well. Now he pops the inject, hits another one as well. And he just can't stop hitting rails.
Oh, I was surprised he took that fight, because it wasn't that he was at a disadvantage. You've got the hitbox of Anarchy versus looking at the top half of the Sarnath. I know what I would take, and yeah, it's just a little bit difficult to say the least. But I think he just, it was quite eager. Well, both of them were quite eager to get the frag, weren't they? So it doesn't matter. Only one frag behind still from it, and 20 left to play. So still has plenty of time to make this work, but he doesn't want this to spiral out of control. If it does, it's just going to be curtains, because of Molten Falls, it's so difficult to try and get some of those return frags. These rails from ZenAku just looking so good, just clutching up every single time, just being a real pain. And cha1n must be getting a bit fed up right now.
Just bonkers rails. But cha1n still has the one frag lead. Trying to hold on to it here, playing very safe, waiting for sound cues before he pushes past any kind of choke point. As getting caught out by a Sorlag, one big rocket into spit or shotgun, and it is nightmare curtain time. And this is going to be really bad here. The drop down from cha1n, the inject, and ZenAku able to clean that up rather quickly. Good rockets from cha1n, but just not enough. Zen takes it, ties it at 3.
Certainly does. Which he's going to be quite happy about. Not too much pressure on himself now that he's managed to tie this game up. Still no, just over 3 minutes left. Both players have changed the pace of game ever so slightly, just relying on those audio cues rather than the aggressive pushes we normally see from both. As now ZenAku already done the damage, it's already been done. He's trying to go for the flank to see if he does push towards the lights above the Mega, but realised that he hasn't. cha1n's actually realised and gone all the way back. So understandable. It seems like cha1n has been playing around that rail rim for the majority of this game, or it's going to kind of been his go-to kind of area of the map, but has now gone towards the Mega again. So ZenAku just trying to play the guessing game to try to pick up on where he could be. And yeah, cha1n's just doing a good job just keeping his distance, because ZenAku does have a huge stack. He can't really focus on going for the frag unless he gets at least 2 rails of chip damage, and now knows that he's just above it with the rail, trying to find some tribot just to do a little bit of damage. Doesn't get it, but does pick up the Mega. So a lot slower than what we're expecting, but cha1n is just trying to find his footing here, just trying to find those 2 rails to then be able to push it on forward. But it does find one, so at least it's a start.
I like the defensive spit from ZenAku, making sure that cha1n, if he wants to try and get a peak rocket, he will pay the price, and that actually keeps cha1n zoned out for the time being. As we're deadlocked at 3 here, 8 minutes in. ZenAku still with the stack advantage, but he's going to be very, very late pivoting to this Mega, and cha1n is going to know that, and he's going to take that for free. So the concession from ZenAku, a bit of a gift here, as that rocket almost popped cha1n right in the face. Has to be careful here. Zen going a little sneaky beaky. Can he get some damage here? Can't really decide what weapon he wants. 40 damage rocket, 1347, not too bad as he does grab the heavy, and any damage is good damage. cha1n has to settle for a light armor, potentially working his way back to the second, but he has to be careful. He has to know that ZenAku will be there as he is, and there's the spit to make sure that cha1n does not go any further. You shall not pass.
Yeah, these pre-spits as well, like from a defensive standpoint, it's so good for contesting some of these items. Of course, it depends on, where you're positioned, but yeah, it's just incredible. Even if you don't do anything, like honestly, it makes a massive impact on how your opponent can contest these items. So, if you're struggling to get any damage done, against your opponent, then that's normally the best way to contest some of these items. Is now ZenAku's still looking to find out what he wants to do. He will pick up this Mega, but he's looking to see where he's going to go next, because both, let's be real, both champions both have, the same, similar speed and mobility, so it's not like it's going to be too much of a problem. It's just a matter of where they're going to go. Good first rail. This could be his room, or his breathing room now, to try and exploit that weakness of hovering around in that rail room and now having to back away again. But look at this, though. He's got the information he needs from the split, but he's taking a lot of damage from the LG. Not enough to back away, though. He can still make something of this. And no, this is definitely going to be it. Yes, it is. ZenAku. And look at the stack as well. He's in a great position. 15 seconds left. He's going to be looking good here.
So fresh and so clean as ZenAku takes that kill on the Mega. cha1n has no choice but to plus forward into an LG. That's unfortunate. And ZenAku, with that Mega commitment from cha1n, is able to take Molten Falls away and go up in the set 1-0. But a very, very close game. It came down to that full battle. And I don't know, I'm not in a position to say whether cha1n needed to dive in and go full commitment on that Mega, but that definitely is what broke his back. And shouts to ZenAku, playing it safe, being very, very meticulous with his decisions, and taking map number 1.
I'm glad you said it, so it's your words, not mine. So I was going to mention the same thing.
I'll be the asshole.
But
you
said it. So yeah, exactly. You could be that guy. Maybe I'll say something else later to make up for it, and it could be 1-1. It'd be perfectly fine. But yeah, I feel the same. Maybe he shouldn't have pushed for it. I'm not too sure exactly why or his reasoning behind it. But apart from that, though, cha1n did really, really well. But the rails, I can't wait to see the percentage of ZenAku. Maybe it's not as much as I think, but every cha1n's perspective, it's just a rail here, a rail there. And even some of the angles he was hitting it from, when you've got like a massive height advantage and you're down low to try and aim that rail, it's so difficult. It's much harder than it looks, especially like, when you're not on the same plateau in terms of not just distance, but in range if you're higher or lower. But just looking at the percentages there, so okay, 46%. It felt like it was a lot more. Maybe the rails ZenAku was hitting were the ones which he, so desperately required to try and gain an edge in that matchup. So the 8 items of cha1n versus the 40 of those items. Just absolute madness.
Yeah, just absurd item control. And as you said, the rails that he hit, they weren't necessarily, very streaky, not high percentage, but the ones he hit mattered the most, be it defensive or offensive, to be able to open up his game and be able to get the frag with a shotgun chase up or anything like that. And Zen has been known to do that. His defensive rails to keep people out and make sure that, people don't close the gap on him have been huge. And that's kind of what we saw here on Molten. So 5-3, very close game between these two. Going into map number 2, it's going to be Ruins. cha1n is on the Athena, ZenAku's on the Galena. In terms of the champ picks specifically for this map, Lethal, what do you think? Do you think the high-flying action of Athena is going to get it done, or do you think setting up those totems is going to prove to be worthwhile?
Oh, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be hard to call, really, I think, in all fairness, even between both those players. Like, I just feel like, just champions aside, they've been looking so good in many different ways, but even then, there's a lot of times I feel like ZenAku was positioned better, but somehow hitting shots which are just very difficult to hit and, always keeping his ground. Like, I still like the fact that he used that preemptive spit every single time to contest these items, even though he had the advantage anyway, like not just in terms of position, but the angles he was holding to go for the Mega or the Heavy. It was fine. Like, he had absolutely, no problem, but it's just that extra insurance to make sure that he got it. Or sometimes he'll do it preemptively just in case that he does make the attempt to dive on it, because some players normally do. cha1n has been known to do that sometimes, but yeah, it was a lot more different than I expected. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a slower approach, but ZenAku knows what cha1n is like. He's one of the players who does like to force out the first mistake of his opponents. He's does like to dance around as well to try and figure out what he can do with his opponent to see if there's any weaknesses he can exploit. But there wasn't really much considering what ZenAku was doing. He said it before, like, he's ready for any kind of approach from his opponent, and we're starting to see that.
Yeah, totally agree. And taking a peek at the predictions, ZenAku 81%. Chat has spoken.
Yeah, maybe they're feeling another 3-0 as well. I don't know. I still feel like cha1n will take at least a map at a bare minimum, but which map is it going to be? Will he even do it? Am I just talking rubbish? It could be another thing. It's
aren't we all, Lethal? Aren't we all just talking rubbish? That's what it's all about. But map number 2 is on the way. It's going to be Ruins of Sarnath between cha1n and ZenAku, and we are live taking a look at cha1n and that Athena.
Yeah, we'll see if what's going to happen here. We haven't seen a lot of Athena on Ruins as of late, but with the Galena, you can do a lot with the Totem Seer. It's a lot easier. Probably one of the better maps to get the overstack on compared to some of the others, apart from Molten Falls. So we'll see what we can do. It's nice to see a Galena again on Ruins because I think we're definitely fans of it, but we don't see it too often. We've seen a lot of variety on this map from what we've seen in the past. But now you can see cha1n just looking to see what he would like to do first. He's going to prioritize that Mega. Heavy's already been up. Time is not really segregated that much, but whoever gets this next Heavy could rocket jump up towards the Mega if they see fit. Won't be able to pick up in time, but at least can show a little bit of map presence there. Good first rail from cha1n. This is where you can use some of these hooks to gain a little bit of speed, maybe to go up on top to get a bit more control. We'll have to see, though. Very slow start from what we saw in Molten Falls.
Agreed. And for those concerned, this is cha1n's server. I don't know if that matters to you. Again, I'm just the messenger. Has 2 good rails from cha1n. Dodging. That one from ZenAku can't get away from the second one. Needs to be careful even after the health bubble. He's down to railable. One more will get him out of rail range, but still very, very weak. A little sketchy to hang around here. That's why he's keeping the exit open and a rail and escape, and that's exactly what cha1n needed to do. Able to grab the armor shard outside as well. So well done, making the best out of a bad situation. Big damage as well. Wow.
Oh, okay. So ZenAku took out himself.
Yeah.
A little bit of a shame.
He just didn't know what to do. All up in his face. Sometimes you just rocket your feet. So ZenAku goes down, and oh, that rail from Zen was great. cha1n just off the mark, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I think it would have been taken down anyway, but you never know. It was very situational. 2 minutes have passed. Mega coming up any second now. It's a gentleman's agreement once again for both of these items. Oh, that was a lovely rocket there to really punch ZenAku right in the back as he's going through the portal. Still, though, you can see that cha1n is after this next Heavy, but it's going to prioritize the light first before he does anything here. Oh, he will actually find ZenAku. You can see he was actually doing the exact same thing, but from the tri-bolt room. And even though he hasn't got the angle, at least that way he can get the first shot off if he wants to hit that rail. But yeah, has backed away, gone towards the Heavy. ZenAku's done the same thing, but for the Mega. So pretty hit and miss here. Again, like I said, very, very slow in comparison for what we saw in this last matchup, where in the last game it was very aggressive, a lot more chaotic from what we're normally used to. But both these players are just playing it from a lot more calculated perspective.
cha1n just getting railed right out of the telly, unfortunately. And again, Zen just piling it on. 29 HP for cha1n. There's the rocket jump. ZenAku wants to get back to 0, but cha1n takes this opportunity to steal away the Heavy. ZenAku concedes and rocket jumps up to Mega, but good evasion there from cha1n. The mobility proving to be a huge, huge factor here, as he is technically still up by 1. Zen took himself out early on. Still hasn't got back to 0.
Yeah, you can see ZenAku use a couple of different methods. Did the predictable approach where he chased him down, went for the flank, but he did actually get him with the flank on the rail, but just, of course, it was only left on 27 HP at the time. Already approaching the halfway mark still. Technically, neither player has found a frag to their name. Still, though, that will happen soon enough, especially when one of these items get contested. But good contestion here from ZenAku. Definitely did try, but it just wasn't enough. Heavy will come up in the next 10 seconds, but whoever hits this rail can definitely make the approach for it. And Chain just using that tribot to see, just to see if he's still there. Just realised, I think, at the very last second that he was going for the light in the courtyard. As Chain is the one who manages to get the heavy. So now he's the one with the stack finally, after so long into this second map. He finally has a little bit of dominance and can contest this mega if he'd like. But it's too late. ZenAku's already there. It's already bagged it. And now both of them are on a very similar stack.
Almost 5 minutes in, very, very measured and calculated from both players. But here it is, the chase, he smells blood, big rockets, can he finish? Little tickle to do it, and cha1n just knowing when to pounce.
It certainly does indeed, as we've approached the halfway stage. Took a little bit of time, but we finally got there in the end, as cha1n still got an aggressive style to this matchup, but just playing it a little bit more differently in terms of how he wants to try and take down ZenAku. But does find him good first rail. Isn't going to continue on piling on the pressure, but looks like he will, but he misses that grapple hook. That could have been a second frag if he was able to succeed with that, but looks like he's backed away again. Yeah, this is not what we wanted to see. That could have been 2 frags maybe.
Unfortunate, looks like the grapple hook didn't do what cha1n intended, but he does have a heavy. Still a little unfortunate. You got to think that he had a little something up his sleeve for that one. Zen missing with the rail, looking for a little bit more. The rocket raining out from cha1n, no damage on that one. Now just playing, making sure the telly doesn't bite him in the ass, and the rail might here. Fakes the jump pad. Nice play with the hooks again. Trying to LG from down below, just tempting ZenAku. Good LG, and around the corner, cha1n's out of there, but he's so weak. But just like that, he has the timing in his head to know that, all right, if I give up this and Zen stays, I can go make a rush for the Mega. So cha1n is playing really, really well. Very good map awareness right now, and he's still holding on to this 2-frag lead and making Zen's life just a nightmare, a frustrating nightmare.
Yeah, he's just been counter-reactive here. It's just as soon as he knows that ZenAku is approaching him, depending on the circumstances of the first battle, he will just back away early, or, you know, will continue on going forward. But we'll see. So far picks up the heavy, stacks are almost the same again. 3.5 minutes. This has pretty much been like a game of chess, and cha1n still with that slight advantage. But you've got to remember, he still only has a 2-frag lead. Not a lot, but it can feel like a lifetime playing on ruins. But still, though, with the slow approaches, just to see if we can get behind him. The heavy up in the next 5 seconds. But the problem is, if cha1n does this, he's given full map control to ZenAku. Does find him, but does a reasonable amount of damage. But this is good, though. As long as cha1n keeps chipping away, even though he gives up some of his items, then he's in a good place.
You know, you got to start thinking about, where is the totem economy from Zen? Usually we see some sort of strategy where you get an overstack, and then that way you could play heavier towards, well, the heavy. But we haven't really seen the totems out from Zen, but we've seen good rockets from cha1n. There's one to save him mid-fight, and it looks like that's what ZenAku's using them for, but cha1n's still able to do some damage, run away, and now with the split between the items, he does have to be careful. Can't really stay. Does grab the 50 shard. He makes his way towards maybe dealing some more damage here. Just takes a peek and gets out. So cha1n already playing pretty hyper defensive. Wants to try and maintain this lead. Zen with the rail again missing. Rockets coming through, and Zen is able to cut him off with the LG. Finally catches him out and puts himself on the board. And only down by 1 now, Lethal.
Yeah, certainly indeed. 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left for cha1n to survive, or 2 minutes left for ZenAku to catch up. I'm not too sure. But you're right about the totem economy, though. Like, you know, it hasn't had a huge amount of value from what we've seen. But maybe that could change later on. Good rail is probably not the weapon choice to use going towards the LG. But again, you know, he didn't know cha1n was there. Didn't really expect him to be that close. But at least he managed to hit it. That is the main talking point. Huge stack in comparison. Just, you can see as well that he's starved for lights, and ZenAku's just hovering around the courtyard and top mid just to see, you know, if he's actually got these lights, if he's picked them up, just keeping track of the HP of of cha1n here, but still though, minute 10 left, and he's gonna have to. Oh, that rail's definitely gonna make things work. He missed a second, but it was just a little bit too quick. But this is exactly what he needed. He's got 60 seconds left. He's gonna have to start, looking around the, the predictable spots like the heavy jump pad, the back at stairs, the try-out room. These little areas just in case. But he needs to stay on top. He has to continue pushing forward. If he doesn't, he will not have another opportunity. And yes, he does. I'm so glad about that. Even with 45 seconds left, if he lets him get away, he could literally be anywhere at that point.
And this is brutal because cha1n was playing defensive for so long, and now that the defense is broken, he's looking at losing this game potentially with 30 seconds left. There's the hook. He's not going to be able to get up on the ledge, but does Zen know exactly where he went? Don't think he has a clue. There's another hook to grab a health bubble, but what items are up for him? Nothing. He has to live off lights. ZenAku has to know that. He almost catches him off, but no, the rail isn't going to be enough. He's going to drop down, and I think cha1n is just over it. He is done as he just sits there and takes it, and Zen takes the set. And that's heartbreaking because you could tell that cha1n was trying to play this all-in defensive game where it's, I'm giving up items, I'm not even damaging on the majors, and at that point you're just, Jesus, take the wheel. I don't even know, because it just doesn't work out sometimes. Zen able to catch him off, and then by that time you have no items to work with. You might not even have timing on the items, and Zen just catches him out, and you could kind of tell that just the way that cha1n stood there was like, insert expletive here. So really well played from Zen to stay measured, and even though he was down most of the game, keep his head in the game. The deficit was not big enough for him to, get frustrated or falter, and he came back and he took that one. And that is, again, we're seeing that level of consistency from ZenAku that we wanted to see, where it's like he's starting to hit those strides.
Yeah, it was brutal nonetheless, but ZenAku, very calm mental fortitude coming into this. Like you saw there, like when he drops a kill, just shakes his head a little bit, then just, okay, right, let's crack on here. It's a little bit strange, seeing Runes is like, only winning by one frag, and especially it was only 2-1. And even look at the damage as well, nowhere near what we're normally expecting, only 125 more damage. But like I said, it's like a game of chess, really. And the only thing I was worried about was the fact that, yeah, sure, like, in terms of map possession, cha1n had that for like, 6-7 minutes easily. But as soon as give ZenAku, like, map control of the items, okay, I can understand from your point the fact that you can get away with the grapple hook and keep yourself at bay or keep your distance. But the problem is, if you don't continue chipping away at your opponent, eventually he's going to get you for you. Like, he's going to catch you at some point, and then he eventually did on those last couple of occasions.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because we saw cha1n kind of open up his game with a rail and then chase down with the hooks and rockets, and it was really, really good to see. But then we kind of just stopped seeing that completely, where whether he was hitting his shots or not, or didn't like the traps that were potentially set up, he just kind of took his foot off the gas completely, and it ended up biting him. As ZenAku had full reign over the map, he was able to hit some rails and close down, the cha1n, I guess momentum not really is the right word, because it was just a really good defensive play style, but he was able to crack through that defense and steal that map away.
Yeah, he just turned into more of a reactionary player, like towards like, the first 5 minutes. Just, if he takes his one shot in any way or some kind of advantage, he's gone. He's out of there. Like before, he would normally try to continue putting on the pressure and then just see what more he could do afterwards and then back away. But by then, he could get clicked with a rail somehow, some way. But apart from that, though, yeah, I did like how cha1n played. I didn't think there's anything wrong with it. Just not enough chip to keep ZenAku's aggression at bay. That's the only problem. And, it's nice to see, the fact that we've seen two large maps, and like the first one, it was just absolute carnage, and the other one was just like, complete opposite end of the spectrum. It was just balmy. It really was. But we both did say it'd probably be 2-1, maybe a 3-0 for ZenAku, considering how well ZenAku's been playing. But I'm not gonna lie to you, cha1n has been playing really well. It's just not been in his favor. Like every second has been decisive in this matchup. But ZenAku 2-0, and looks like already dealing with a few problems of his own already.
Yeah, and cha1n, sometimes you just got to take a little water break, a little protein shake, and hopefully get your head in the game, as we saw there. And on cha1n's POV for Vale, will he prevail on this one and put a map on the board? That's yet to be seen, as we are still early days here. But I think he absolutely has what it takes. I don't think that ZenAku is playing in such a way where it's out of cha1n's hands to take a map. I think ZenAku is playing very well and measured, but I think cha1n can pull this one through. Just a little bit better decision making, knowing when to aggress and when to try and deal some damage on some items, and it could be a whole different ball game here. So both players now battling it out. That's a good rail. Trying to hit the follow-up with the tri-ball. Just gets a little bit, just a little bit. That's all you need sometimes. A little bit goes a long way here. As a good rail as cha1n was trying to drop down. ZenAku again heating up the flames. So hot, 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 hot. And barely, barely getting that health bubble to survive. Both players very weak. cha1n will take the telly out. And that was a close one, Lethal.
Certainly it was. I missed that show. Minute 20 already passed. No frags again, especially with a map like Vale as well. It's a little bit strange, but you know, there's been quite a few times a frag could have been had with both these players. Good rocket again from cha1n. He's thrown the turret down to help contest this heavy. Does manage to get it though, but eats a rail in the process. Is he going to get taken down? Oh no, he will not. Second time in a row. Barely survives picking up that health bubble. Almost walked back into the flames, but that's okay. That's fine. He's still got plenty to work with. But the rails from ZenAku left on 9 HP. He can definitely do this if it's a direct, but he's not going to risk it. It looks like he has left him be, and you can see so far from the items, Heavy's up in the next 5 seconds. And cha1n right now is just trying to recuperate from his losses earlier on in that last engagement.
It's just insane how cha1n has been staying alive for so long. I'm sure ZenAku is like, why won't you die? All of the damage that he's putting out, still no frag on the board between these two, and I can't think of a better contest. These two are just so close, Lethal. You'll love to see it.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all. There's a lot of mind games that's come into this. You can see ZenAku wants this 3-0 to continue on piling on the pressure for Rafa. The Americas region of the Pro League is looking to back away. 30 HP is going to try and regain a little bit of HP, but he just misses out. Not third time lucky this time round. Finally, though, 40. Took a while, especially on the map like Vale. Oh, actually, then again, this is going to be the second round for ZenAku. Yes, it will be, and this is what we expect. And this is the standard Vale play we normally see here.
It took about 9 fireballs for cha1n to finally go down. What an absolute beast. But off the back of that, Zen is able to add another one, and he's up 2. Dealing with the turret nicely. I think he actually got railed after that pickup just a little bit there, as Timmy did some initial damage as well. So stacks about even, but this Mega should go firmly to Zen without issue. And Flame Strike will be up yet again, and he's been getting a ton of mileage off of it.
I don't know if you noticed that, but when he went through the portal and also meant to take him down, he was able to stand right at the very top of the rail room, and his opponent still spawned there. So I didn't actually know that in terms of distance, you could still have your opponent spawn there, and that's actually a ridiculous spawn to have if you're directly above. Obviously, you can rain down rockets, but it's very difficult to aim at your opponent, especially with some kind of tracking aim with a rail. But speaking of rail, good stuff from ZenAku, and a second one just to match the first one. Great stuff there. Now looking to continue to increase his lead, and another rail again for E.
Just insane. And again, the percentage isn't that high, but Zen is such a rail-heavy player. He's already shot 25 rails. No signs of stopping as he just wants his money worth. There's the flames into the rail again, but good rails from cha1n. But ZenAku replies with his own. They're just playing tennis right now, Lethal. But the rocket! Wow.
Deary me. He's been playing cha1n a lot recently, like a lot in scrims, so that probably is why he's just using rails a lot more. He's probably thinking, okay, I like this method of play, I might just switch to it. But you know, it's quite a rail-heavy meta as well, depending on which map you play on. ZenAku still got a huge stack, up 4-0 over cha1n. Like, you know, I even still think that winning this 3-0 is still an upset, because you know, cha1n is still a very, very strong player, and he's been able to slide here and there to get some of these games across, but 3-0 will be absolutely huge for ZenAku. It's going to be extremely happy with his performance so far, as we're now at the halfway stage of this game, and ZenAku is still continuing to suffocate cha1n and just doing what he does best.
Yeah, and 4-0 halfway through, potential for yet another 3-0, and I'm not a professor, but that's a bit nutty, Lethal. I don't understand what's going on today, but
I don't know.
cha1n should be able to get this frag. Yeah, and he does. Good LG through the fire and the flames. No skin off his back as the Mega is available, though. So ZenAku finally going down. It took 5 minutes and 40 seconds just about to get that frag, and that is just insane defense and really, really good play from ZenAku to make him work that hard.
Yeah, it took a while, but yeah, he got in the end. He has a huge stack as well, so let's see if he can change the pace a little bit. As now some of these rockets have been missed apart from that last one, but that flame strike's going to help ZenAku nicely, maybe even help him to get away here. So he's still got the height advantage. Ooh, actually, he's only on 10 HP, but you know, that last rail definitely going to meet his standards, as now he can try and get away if he can. I was hoping to see if he can get a flank around, but it doesn't matter. Still looking to recuperate from that last engagement. 3.5 minutes left. cha1n needs to speed things up a little bit here. It's all dandy, you know, trying to keep map control and prioritizing the items, but at some stage he's going to have to give up on one of his items and prioritize the frag and then go back to it. I suppose it is situational depending on where he is standing. Good first rail, picks up the Mega straight afterwards. Is going to leave the light if he's in a little bit of trouble. These rails from cha1n, 2 for 2, is going to go for the third if he can, but looks like he's going to push him with the LG just to play it safe. Good stuff from cha1n, much better from what we saw previously.
Yeah, able to close the gap after the initial rail opening and get that frag back on the board, and he's got plenty of time to get 2 more, potentially 3 to take the lead. But it's all on cha1n right now, as Zen does have the flame strike, and again he has another rail, and that thing is just, he's making that rail sing. Not the highest percentage again, but he's hitting the ones that he needs to just be a pest right now and keep cha1n away.
Yeah, he certainly is a pest as an understatement right now. It's just been absolutely mad. But you can see now, again, it's like I said before, instead of prioritizing the items, he's prioritizing the frag, which is good, but now he's going to pick up the heavy and he's going to take himself out in the process. So, you know, didn't really work out. It would be picking up that heavy, which he's probably going to wish now he did pick up, but it's understandable why he made that play. You know, he needs to prioritize the frag to make ZenAku think that he's got plenty of time to, you know, make his next move across the map. ZenAku only on 100 HP, down to 39, does get taken down. So cha1n once again having to deal with his deficits. Only got 2 minutes left. The turret's going to be a bit of a nuisance. It's been the shield, which ZenAku needs it. That rail from that angle almost hit the second one as he was driving by. And look at that though. At least the trade comes out. Well, because cha1n does actually take that frag. Anyway, good start rail there, just piling on the pressure. But is it too late though? Only 1:40 left.
Can he work some magic right now, ZenAku? You got to think he's going to start going more and more defensive. Does have the flame strike in the Thunderdome with the rockets doing so much damage, and cha1n is still on fire, and he's going to tick down 6-3. The flame strike doing exactly what ZenAku wanted.
Yeah, still 1:15 left to play. Still got a 3 frag deficit. ZenAku, though, has been in this situation before. Should be okay here, just trying to see if he can hit a rail before or whilst he picks up that Mega, just to add a little bit of chip. But so far so good. In terms of his positioning, cha1n knows exactly on his whereabouts, trying to catch up to him if he can. Trying to do-si-do around that rocket room, but is going to back away and picks up the light. Does have the height advantage, but needs to be careful with any of his rocket jumps, which cha1n may employ. Still backing away there. This is just great stuff. Good chip, just making sure that oh, that was just incredible. What a way to try and back away from cha1n, and that is definitely going to be it. GG's from both players. 3-0 for ZenAku. Nicely done there, 40. Nicely done.
Not bad at all. And again, I don't think that cha1n played poorly necessarily, but ZenAku is just playing on that next level that he keeps talking about wanting to attain and ascend to, and very consistent throughout the series, and it's very, very good to see. And on the flip side, you know, as a cha1n fan, you need to hope that whatever's going on, he can clean up and get back to kind of the top 4 prime time cha1n that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, there we have it. ZenAku going to be extremely happy about that. Is back in the first place spot in the Americas region. And you've got to remember, Rafa still has a game in hand. So, you know, it could be literally the same considering the circumstances. But yeah, you know, who would have thought it, you know, how well he's been playing in every single game. A little bit more of a methodical approach. But yeah, just doing so much work, and it's just great to see his ZenAku. I'm not really too sure, you know, what his plans are next for his future matchups, but I'm looking forward to see whenever he plays against Rafa as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really, really high level play from ZenAku, looking better and better, very consistent. It's good to see. And eventually they will meet, and we will see. That will be one of kind of the true tests, as cliche as that is, can he take down the end boss? But for now, really strong performance over cha1n, 3-0 to take the series, and we still haven't had a mixed series yet. It's insane. I don't even know what's happening anymore, Lethal.
I know, it's the worst, but it's like some of the series scores haven't really, really shown exactly what happened in some of those games. Doesn't reflect on what happened, shall we say. And just looking at the damage so far, just under 800 damage in comparison to cha1n. 23 items. We have to talk about the item control of ZenAku throughout most of this series. It's been so solid, so good as well. A few missed rounds here and there, but it definitely clutches up with some absolute bangers here and there. It's just been great to see. ZenAku's going to be, again, very happy with that performance, showing a consistency like you've already mentioned once more. And the question is, what's new? What does he need to do next? Maybe when we see him play against Rafa, maybe, then he can realize what his next step is, what he needs to kind of rectify, because it's only going to be very, very, very little bits and pieces here and there which he needs to do in order to try and collectively maybe outplay Rafa in some way, but it's still a big ask nonetheless. So we'll see when that day comes. But for now, ZenAku's doing a pretty damn good job.
Pretty damn good indeed. And today has been pretty damn good, Lethal, but we have 2 featured matches remaining. Papa Wheat's going to join us on the show, but first, we need to take a break. So go grab snacks, whatever you got to do. Take a lap around. Why not? Get up, stretch those legs. We'll be back in a little bit. We'll see you soon.